So, how do you get client work? My answer might surprise you. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, alien zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And believe it or not, sometimes people actually pay me to do that stuff. And because of that, I get a lot of questions for people who want to do the same, that want to get paid for their work. So one of the most common questions I get is, how do you get client work? So a lot of up-and-coming artists or people that want to do art professionally, that's the number one thing that I think they're looking for is, how do I get paid to do work for clients? Where do I find clients and everything? And I have an answer for you, but like I said, it's probably counterintuitive to what you might think. A lot of people who want to make a living doing artwork, they're just desperate to find clients. And unfortunately, sometimes they're willing to do work for free or really low-paying jobs. And in some cases, you know, that may just be part of, you know, sort of those growing pains in the beginning. Becoming a professional artist is kind of paying your dues and doing that stuff for free. But I think there's another way, another route you can go. And unfortunately, because of this, it seems like there's people out there that want you to do work that know this, that see that desperation, or just don't put a value on artwork, and they sort of prey on up and coming artists and try to get them basically to do stuff for free and everything, or work for exposure. I mean, you guys have all heard that term. So when it comes to exposure, I have a little quiz for you. It's true or false, pretty basic. So statement number one: most companies that offer exposure are in a position where they can actually provide real exposure. That's false. See, the thing about exposure and the thing about people who are probably not in a position where they have enough money to offer you exposure are probably don't have the wherewithal or the network or the audience to actually provide exposure, if that was a thing. The funny thing about exposure and, you know, companies that kind of want you to do work for free and everything, in order to make a project happen, I mean, you can do your part. You can do an awesome, say, whatever it is, logo design or whatever. You can do your part and come up with something awesome. But if the person on the other end, the person's company it is, if they don't believe enough in their own product to actually invest in that product, they probably don't have the ability to make that whatever it is, a project or a property or just the company itself happen. The people that are willing to invest in their own company, their own whatever they're doing, those are the people that are probably going to go places with whatever product they're putting out there. Okay, statement number two: all work for free is bad. That's false. Believe it or not, no, you can do work for free. But there's something very important you have to realize, and that is, if you're going to do work for free, it has to be on your terms. If a company comes to you wanting you to do work for free, to me that's like a definite no. I'm not interested. But there are, I mean, there are, like, say, companies out there that I would love to do something with, and if that's the case, you may want to reach out to them and say, hey, look, I really love what you're doing. I'm an animator. I'd love to just animate a sequence for you or something like that. And the reason why this is a good route to go is because if it's something you really have a passion for, a product or a person or just something you really like, and you're willing to do that, that passion's going to come through and people are going to notice it, and you're going to have fun doing it. It's not like somebody's going to come to you like, hi, I'm from J&M Plumbing or something. We want you to do a logo for us and all this stuff. I mean, how much, unless you just really have an affinity for plumbing, if it's just a passion of yours and you just love doing it, it's probably not going to be all that much fun. In terms of doing work for free, and volunteering is another thing. If it's a cause you like, that's great. I mean, but it has to be be on your terms. For instance, I'm talking about joining the local chapter of the AIGA, which is sort of the, I don't know if it's Graphic Artists Guild. I don't even know what the acronym stands for. I think it's changed or whatever. Not important, all right? But anyway, so for me, that's important because it's important for me to get out and meet people that are out there doing what I'm doing, and I'm willing to, you know, invest some time and some of my abilities and talents, or whatever you want to call it, into doing some stuff for them, because I think, you know, to me, that's going to be a benefit to me, and I'd like to kind of give back. So so if there's a cause you really like, then by all means do that for free, but please make sure it's on your terms. Don't let somebody else dictate something that they want you to do for free, or, you know, or just really low, or exposure, or whatever. Statement number 3, people are likely to research a particular piece of art that they like, find out who did that artwork, and offer them a job. That's false. That's not something that happens. I mean, again, back to the analogy, say if you're doing work for a bakery or whatever, you do a really cool logo for this bakery. I was going to say 9 times out of 10, but I would say almost never. I've never seen a logo out there in the real world that says logo designed by so and so. That just doesn't happen. That would be kind of weird, actually, because if you have a logo, you want to advertise your own company, not who designed it. People aren't going to like find out and ask around who made that logo and say, oh, I really like that logo. I wonder who made it, and do all this Google research and everything, and track it down to the artist, and then offer you a job doing their logo. Or that just doesn't happen. The only way you would want to do a project like that is if your name is somehow attached to that. And even if it's like a film, people that do work on a film, if you're going to do, I mean, typically when people do work in film, hopefully they're getting paid. But if you do work on a film and your name's in the credits, most people are going to stick around and say who did that, and say, oh, I want to get that guy to work on my project. So if for whatever reason you decided to partner with somebody and offer your services free of charge, you need to make sure that your name is attributed to whatever project that is. And the way this might work is say if you're doing a logo for a brand or whatever, and you are offering your services free of charge, but the brand wants to do a whole video surrounding around the creation of this, and maybe they do have a large social media following or something like that, and they show, we've got Serkworks Art Labs to design our logo. Look at here behind the scenes, that kind of stuff. That stuff can work. That stuff can be beneficial because they're actually showing you who they are. They're showing that process, and that could be a really good partnership to kind of to do with somebody, because both people are benefiting from that. Somebody's getting a discount on a logo, and you are actually being compensated in other ways by actually real exposure, something that somebody might see and actually see that process. And people love to see process videos, but there's a number of other ways you can do that, but you got to be smart about it. Your name has to be attached, because people are not going to search out who did something and then go, oh, I want to offer that person a job. Okay, statement number 4, you need actual client work in your portfolio to attract future clients. That's false. Again, these are all these statements are false. So this brings me back to the original question. How do you get client work? And my answer to this question is, you get client work by not doing client projects. Now, you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Well, allow me to explain. What you want to do, the thing you really want to do is not, when you're starting out or whatever, or even if you've been doing this for a while, you don't really want to seek out, clients, because that, in some cases, clients can beget other clients, but it's in my opinion, it's the personal projects that attract the most clients. And you don't need to have an actual like a job that you did for, say, a high profile client in your portfolio in order to get other clients. So I wouldn't focus so much on that. I would focus more on personal projects. You don't have to get hired by clients. You can hire yourself. Treat yourself as the client. Do a project you want, and have fun with it. Whatever you're into, create a project around that and just do it. I've received more attention from potential clients based on work that I created for myself than any other client projects that I've ever done. I remember being called into this ad agency, and I was kind of wooing them. I sent them some of my stuff. It was, you know, this is a company that did a lot of branding and stuff, so I sent my branding and I sent all this stuff, and then they called me in, and so I'm going through my iPad, I'm flipping through the stuff, you know, this is some branding I did, this is a logo design, and you know, they were just kind of, you know, kind of blank faces, not really anything. Yeah. So I flipped through all this stuff, and it took until I got to my personal projects, and I said, well, this is kind of what this may be of interest to you. This is what I kind of do on my own. This is like my Serkworks stuff that you see in the store. This is the robots. This is all that kind of stuff. And they said, that's why we called you in. We love this stuff. And the thing is, because everyone else is sending them the branding, the logos. They see that all the time. So when they see something fresh, they see something different, that's what kind of sparks their interest. And so, you know, we talked about doing a future project. I don't know if anything ever happened from that, but I do know one thing. When I went back that day after, because they just called me in because they wanted to meet me. They really liked the stuff. And if something came up where they needed that particular brand of illustration or design, then they would call me. But anyway, so I went home, and then that day they ordered like a couple $100 worth of stuff from my store. So it worked out in the end. But that's because I'm doing my own personal stuff. Another time, you know, sometimes like I'll be at a convention, and you know, I've had people come up to me like from a really like established like a brewery, wanting, you know, asking about if I could do labels for a line of craft beers that they had. And that was because they're looking at like my mix and my things like that I do, not because I've got beer labels in my portfolio. So it's almost always those personal projects that tend to drum up the most interest. And there's so many real world examples of this. I saw, and I don't know if it was Facebook, I'm gonna say it was Facebook, it could have been another, you know, social network or whatever, but there was an artist who was maybe a fan of Facebook, or maybe it was Apple, maybe it was iPhone, or whatever the platform was, but they thought, you know what, I could maybe do a really cool redesign of the UI. So a UI designer came up with an alternative to like, say, the Facebook layout and everything. Now, whatever the company was, I don't remember, but they whatever company it was, they did contact this person, and I don't think they changed the way they were doing it, but they were so impressed with the amount of time and everything, and some of the things that they did, and they liked some of those ideas, so they hired that person. And you hear this all the time with people who maybe do fan art of a particular thing that they're just huge fans of, maybe like a Marvel or DC property. Maybe they take they do a unique you know, interpretation of that, and next thing you know, that catches the eye is somebody at Marvel, and they actually hire them to do the book. So I mean, this happens all the time. I want to share a couple of other examples. We just did an Artcaster show. That's the show I do with Joshua Kimball, kind of like an art roundtable where we just talk about design and the business of design and art and all that kind of stuff. And so we had a guest on, Stephen Stewart, who really impressed me with a personal project that he was working on. Now, he's a big fan of anime and particularly Pokemon. So what he did was he decided to take the different Pokemon. Now, obviously there's so many of them, I don't know if he'll ever do all of them, but he made a series out of this. And this is another thing, when you're doing something like this, you want to do a campaign, or you want to do a series. You don't want to just do like a one-off, like, oh, I love let's say you're a big fan of like rock music and like hot rods. So rather than just doing, say, if you want to do like Jimi Hendrix, like what a hot rod Jimi Hendrix, what kind of hot rod Jimi Hendrix would drive. So maybe it's kind of like Purple Haze, you know, it's got sort of just that like a Hendrix feel to it, kind of 70s vibe and everything. Or like Eddie Van Halen, he's kind of got that classical guitar or whatever, you know, with the stripes, the red, the black, and the white and everything. And maybe the hot rod is kind of designed like that, and you got Eddie Van Halen driving it or something like that. whatever. It could be anything, but rather than just doing one of those, you want to do a series, because that starts to build up interest in things like that, or a campaign. If you decide, I'm a big fan of McDonald's. I want to sort of do what would a rebrand of McDonald's look like, and rather than just redoing the logo, you want to show all kinds of different aspects of that, and share those kind of one at a time, and you can build up an audience for that. But anyway, back to Stefan's work here. So he's a big fan of Pokemon, and he's an illustrator, graphic designer, brand expert. So he would come up with these little ideas. All right, so I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if we can get that into focus. So you see that Spark electric supply, and it's Pikachu, but it's a cool logo design, and he's got tons of them here. And he just did a series, and it's all different, whatever kind of company or whatever kind of product would fit. Here's another one. So there's Oddish here. Got it? So Oddish, so it's like odd dish. So this could be for like a cooking company or something like that, or one of those subscription boxes with food in them or whatever. But he's got tons of them. Some of them are more like a sports team. Like where's this? Here's like a Charizard one. It looks sort of like a sports team. All right, see that? Cool. But yeah, he's got tons of this. It's a whole series, and he continues to do that. And that's the kind of stuff that really, it just begs to be noticed. So, and again, he loves this kind of stuff, and that kind of stuff shows through. When you're doing a project for yourself, you're in total control. You're deciding. You don't have to worry about a client saying, oh, I don't really like this particular thing. You don't really have to compromise. It can be totally your vision. I don't want to say that the client input is bad, because sometimes I've done stuff for clients and it turned out that, oh, that was a good decision. And of course it's their product and everything. But I think when you have total control over a project, I mean, your passion's going to show out. And you want that to happen, because when somebody hires you, they're hiring you for what you can do. If you have full creative control, then you're gonna have some awesome pieces that way. And if you're searching on like Pinterest or Dribbble or whatever social or Instagram, a lot of the kind of stuff, I mean, I see this stuff all the time. This was a while back, but this is something, and I'm not a huge sports fan, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and what they decided to do was take all the major pro NFL teams, and they would rework their design to look like a Star Wars theme. So I forget which one it was. It might have been like the Broncos, and they did like the Tauntauns, like the Denver Tauntauns, but it kind of looked like the Broncos logo, but it was a Tauntaun instead of the horse and everything. And just every single one of them they would take, and I'm sure if you Google this, you can find it. But just some really cool stuff, and they just redesigned all these helmets, and I'm pretty sure they did that on their own, and I do think that they actually got the attention of either Lucasfilm or the NFL, or both. I mean, how cool would that be? And who knows? And that project maybe never. They probably never did anything like physical with it, like manufactured these things, although they could have done t-shirt designs. A lot of people would probably buy those. But that's like real world exposure. When you see something like that, that's the stuff that really stands out. So I've got another friend, Nick Bradshaw. He's a graphic designer, and he's just doing this thing on Instagram where every day he's taking a letter. It's starting with A, B, and he's just doing these real cool type treatments to them. So not a full logo, or a font. All he's just doing is one logo. So at the end, he's got all these really cool logo designs, and I don't know what he plans to do with it at the end, but I mean, he could probably take any one of these and create a typeface out of it or something, because he's started with one thing and he's just built this series all around it, and who knows what'll happen with that. But I'm watching that kind of stuff online. There's another thing I saw. I don't know if this is one artist or a group of artists, but this thing I think it's called the Comic Sans Project. And if you know anything about Comic Sans, it's pretty much the bane of most graphic designers' existence, because for one, to me it's really not a great. If you want to do like a comic style font, there's tons of better ones, and it's way overused, and it's just and for good reason, it kind of gets picked on. But somebody decided, or a lot of people decided as a group, I'm not exactly sure how this came to be, but to take actual logos like the Subway logo and replace it with Comic Sans or whatever logo. They just use all these different logos and replace them with Comic Sans. And to be honest, they don't look half bad. So if you can, there are ways you can maybe, and that would be a challenge. I've heard people do that, where make Comic Sans look good, and if you can do that, then you're really a good designer. But that's the kind of stuff that gets a lot of attention, and that's the kind of stuff that you want to do if you want to get clients. And I don't want you to think that all the work that goes into your portfolio has to be something you've done actually, that you were paid for, or whatever, or for an actual client. That's not necessary. I just listened to a talk by Aaron Draplin, who's like this design rock star, awesome guy. I've talked about him before, did a workshop with him, and just really amazing. You got to watch some of his speeches. He's all over YouTube. Check him out. But he shows this. He's done so many logo designs. That's his big thing, is logo designs. He's known for like thick lines and stuff like that. But he'll show this big sheet of all these different logos designs, and then he's like, you know what? About 80% of these things I did for free, or I did for a friend or whatever. But the thing is, the clients, they don't know the difference. So, you can, if it's a friend of yours, and you gotta be a little careful with that, because you don't want somebody to take advantage of you. But if it's something you'd like to do, like if a friend comes to you like, oh, can you do that? Then you may, that's kind of up to you, depending on the thing. But if you see a friend that's doing something, and maybe approach them and say, oh man, I really like what you're doing. You mind if I do a logo design for that, or whatever, or maybe a trade out or something. That's not important right now. But the thing is, a lot of this designs and things that he didn't get paid a lot of money, or if anything, or he did it sort of a favor or whatever. But all that artwork, when you look at it, you see this body of work, and that's the stuff that gets him like $20,000 logo design projects and up. So you don't have to actually have actual client work in your portfolio. You can just pick 2 or 3 different clients that you really would like to work for, and you could approach them, and you could say, like I said before, you could say, I'd like to do this for you, or whatever. But even if you don't, if there's a product out there that you think would benefit from a cool redesign, just redesign it and put it in your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, you don't want to lie to people and say, yeah, like, this is a logo design, a redesign I did for like Netflix or whatever. Whatever you like to redesign, just put that in your portfolio and just say, this is just a personal project. They didn't actually hire me to do it, but I thought it would be really cool, or I kind of thought their company could go this way or do this angle on it. So just be honest about it. There's nothing wrong with putting personal projects or sort of like a fan type project in your portfolio. I'm hoping this will give you a little different perspective when you're thinking about trying to drum up client work in the beginning, because honestly, when you're first starting off, you're probably not going to get paid that much if you're just starting out doing whatever it is, logos or branding or illustrations or whatever for clients. Sometimes it's hard to do that. So why bother spending all that time working on a product that you might not even be that you might not be that into for little or no money, when you can put that amount of time into something you really like, and then just put that out there in the world for all to see. And I guarantee you that is going to get you a lot more attention than anything you would do for a landscaping company or something like that. So just do the work you're passionate about, and that's really going to be your best work. That's the stuff that's really going to shine. And honestly, I'm serious about this. The personal work is going to get you the client work. So focus on the personal work, and if it's good enough, and if you share it, if you get it out there, people are going to start to take notice, and that's when the paying stuff starts to come in. So anyway, hopefully that'll give you some food for thought. And yeah, that's all I got to talk about today. I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here in the Art Lab. There's a lot of other great content on the channel, so click that subscribe button and you won't miss a thing. If you're an aspiring evil genius, visit Serkworks.com for all your mad science supply needs. And if you want to contact me, hit me up in the comments section or follow me on social media. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.